Hey, what's going on? This is DJ Sports. Back again with another episode. I got my good friend Nathan here. We're going to cover everything that happened in Game 2 of the finals. Look ahead to Game 4, which is tomorrow, and what's been a pretty interesting series so far. Nathan, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
So I'd like to remind you guys that you can follow us on all of our socials on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's DJ Sports Podcast on YouTube as well, DJ Sports Podcast, and you can reach us for questions on our email, djsportspodcast@gmail.com. All right, so Nathan, let's jump right into it. We had the Lakers come off to a really slow start last game. The Heat took advantage, jumped out to a lead. Lakers came back, but it felt like they were fighting the entire game, and then Miami closed it out at the end. What do you think the Heat have a chance in this series now? And what do you have to say?
Yeah, I mean, I remember talking to you before. I even tweeted this after like game two. I said this looks like it's gonna be a sweep, because it really did look like it was gonna be a sweep. But then again, it was kind of stupid to count a team like Miami out. Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler. Spoelstra is, I think, the best coach in the league right now, and I don't think it's very close. I mean, the Heat were fifth seed, and they're missing the best scorer. They're missing the best defender in Bam and Dragic. It was partly because the Lakers were a little sloppy, but the Heat made big adjustments, and they did it on both ends of the floor. So they fronted AD in the post a lot, and they would send a double from the back just to deny like the post entry. And the Lakers had issues getting the ball to AD. He didn't even get as many looks as he usually gets. Scott Foster giving him 4 fouls in like 20 minutes also helps. You get a little bit Scott Foster, Tony Brothers action, trying to force another game, I guess, or give one of the Heat because Scott Foster, Tony Brothers, those guys are just terrible refs. Some of the fouls are done by AD, but a lot of them they wouldn't usually call in a regular game. So those are like defensive adjustments that Miami made to make life of the Lakers a bit harder. On offense, they did a lot of things too. I thought they worked for their buckets there, and they took advantage of a lot of things LA was doing defensively. We can get into that if you want. I mean, did you notice any of that stuff, like how they got Jimmy into the paint more? I mean, I think Jimmy willed his way to 40 points, but he also they were doing set design plays to clear the paint for Jimmy, and he was getting in there because Spoelstra was putting his guys in positions to succeed. Like he was putting Duncan Robinson on the same side that Jimmy would drive on, so the guy couldn't help off of him, and Jimmy would also go off screens to kind of give him downhill action. He didn't even attempt a three-pointer. He had 40 points. So I thought all those adjustments that they made were prime. And they executed well. And that being said, the Lakers were in the game the entire time, even though, the Heat almost played perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could ask for a better game from Miami if you're a Heat fan. You had Olenek contributing big again.
Yeah.
I think he had like 19 points.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like you said, you can never count a team like Miami out. They've been fighting this entire season, fighting in the bubble, and there's a reason that they're here. So I have to give them a lot of credit. Came out and played hard. But yeah, I just feel like Lakers shot themselves in the foot so many times. Especially with the turnovers. You can't expect to get out to such a bad start against a good team like Miami, and then you have to claw your way back the entire game.
I mean, do you think this series goes to 6 games?
I think it's possible, but it all depends on obviously tomorrow's game because if we win tomorrow, the Lakers it's probably wraps. But if it goes 2-2, then they get Bam back and things get really interesting.
Yeah, they might have Bam back tomorrow. I see. You see that he's upgraded to questionable now.
I remember seeing that when he got hurt, they were looking at like game 3 or 4 that it was a possibility for him to come back.
Yeah, I think Goran's not coming back, and I think that might not even be that big of a deal. So if the Lakers win in 5 or whatever, you can say, okay, if they had Bam, it would be a different series because it would be. But honestly, I don't know how much of an impact he would have compared to, like, say, Kelly Olynyk. I think Kelly Olynyk is actually a better or more flexible play for the Heat to have right now. To have like a shooting big man that can also put the ball on the floor and make passes, because the Lakers are so big that small guards just have a tough time. And Dragic wasn't even doing that well before he got hurt. He was all right, but Bam is someone they really need.
Yeah, because I see what you're saying. Because Bam does so much for them, like other than scoring, he does so much playmaking. Another big defender that you can throw on LeBron and AD. But yeah, what do you think about everyone saying that it doesn't count? There's like an asterisk, or just like all the excuses that are kind of coming out because of
Come on. Those people. I mean, those people are just haters, man. There's a lot of hoopla going around because the Lakers and LeBron are joined forces. So there's a lot of stupid stuff being said both ways. I mean, the Lakers did exceed my own expectations as well. I'm pretty sure they exceeded yours because they've been dominant in this playoff run, and you got to tip your hat to them. Like they've destroyed every team they played against, and they look clearly better. Like there's no excuses for any teams that lose to them. There's no asterisk either. I mean, you play who's in front of you, right? Like if the other teams were good enough, they would have been in the finals, or they would have faced the Lakers. So there's no asterisk. Just like asterisk for those Warriors seasons. I mean, even though they got Kevin Durant, they won the title, so you still got to do it. So it doesn't cheapen anything. You got to do it. You still got to execute and finish the job.
Yeah. Even with like the season that Kyrie and Kevin Love were hurt, people try to say there's an asterisk and things like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of ridiculous,
That stuff happens, man. I mean, it happens all the time. Like injuries in the playoffs happen all the time. And like, what do you want? What do you want everyone to do? Just label each championship with a special asterisk and denote who got hurt in the series? Like, no, if you win, you win, man. I mean, Jimmy Butler is not the type of guy to say that either. I mean, he came out there and just dropped a bomb.
You could look. Every championship team has caught some type of break. You could go back and look at all the winners in the NBA. So, I mean, it's just kind of such a weird situation because of the bubble. That's why I kind of wanted the Clippers to win because, if we beat the Clippers, you can't really say anything else. Lakers are the better team. But
yeah, that's pretty funny.
Aside from that, so Game 4. So how do you feel about all the trash talk between Jimmy and LeBron, and then LeBron walks off the court? You take anything?
Okay. The trash talking thing is funny. I think people should do it more. I wish there was more trash talking. Like I love Draymond because he trash talks like that. I hate it when he does it against my team, but that type of attitude is just makes things more entertaining, man. It's not baseball or golf, right? I just started watching baseball because the Padres too, and the bat flips. I love all that shit. So
yeah, there's a lot of unwritten rules.
Shit like that. Yeah, that's stupid, man. And also LeBron walking off the court. I mean, the game he thought it was over, and I thought it was over too. I don't know why they added 0.7 seconds. So it's understandable. And he was pissed off. I mean, dude, when I get pissed off and lose games in any fashion, I act that way too.
Yeah, I mean, it was just not a great performance from the team. That's why, as a Lakers fan, I'm not super worried because we played pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like we deserved to lose that game, and we were still in there. With like 4 minutes left, it was like a 2-possession game.
Yeah. I mean, it pisses me off because like the whole season Rondo was not good, and now he's good. Dwight Howard, man, that guy is just so hateable. He's just like I say he's center Patrick Beverly, bro.
Oh damn!
And just starts like hitting people. He was like shoving Jokic around and all that stuff. And then in this series, he's still a punk, but I mean, he's good now too. Him and Rondo are both like they play valuable minutes and they do their job and they're good. And it pisses me off because it works. Like you guys are doing well. I mean, yeah, you guys are up 2-1. I mean, it always sucks to lose a game in the finals. If I was cheering for a team in the finals that lost a game, I would be freaking out. But it seems like everyone's calm in Lakerland. But I do think that it's going to be a battle, man. I mean, I don't think the game's going to come easier anymore. I think it just gets harder from here on out.
Yeah. I mean, we're just going to, like, punch them in the mouth and, like, honestly just have a good first quarter, good first half. extend the
You think
lead as
so?
much as you can because I don't know if Miami's a team that's built to come from behind, especially with no Bam or Dragic. It's
Oh man, come on! You didn't say that. They always come from behind.
I mean
They're
this
like
is a different
down
beast.
double digits in almost every game. I mean, it is a different group, but they're used to it. I think they have the guts to do it.
Yeah, I mean no,
I'd be surprised.
but
I'd be surprised if the Lakers came out and were leading big time in the first quarter of the next game. I think there's a lot of adjustments that were made by Miami, like tactical adjustments, like actually. It wasn't just Lakers just playing sloppy; it was a combo of both. But I will say that I think Vogel is actually a really good coach. I think he's made adjustments in every series he's played. He's made good adjustments. I don't know. I mean, how do you feel about him? I think he's really good.
yeah, I'm for sure a big fan. Like you said,
Mm.
we can expect the Lakers to play this well in the playoffs. What stands about to me the whole season is that I didn't expect Vogel to be, you know, such a great coach. Like defensively, that's the one thing I really
Yeah,
look at because the team plays so hard defensively. Every single player closing out on shots. You have Kuzma even hustling, more than I've ever seen in his career. So people have really
God, I hate that guy.
people really bought into Frank's
Yeah,
system, and they really believe in what he's preaching. And
yeah.
it kind of feels like LeBron might and Rondo might be like the offensive coordinators,
Mm-hmm.
and Vogel's kind of like the defensive coordinator. I've also heard
Mm-hmm.
some nonsense of like people saying, "Oh, this is LeBron's team. Vogel's just like a piece of furniture, just sitting there." Like
Yeah,
that's all
it
nonsense.
kind of is like that with LeBron teams. I mean, it kind of is in years past at least, but it's not like that this year. Vogel's made a lot of good adjustments on defense, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna find a way to get AD more shots next game.
Yeah, and I mean, look, no disrespect to Ty Lue, but you could probably see that with those Cavs teams. That LeBron was the head coach
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. But I mean, Vogel's
Yeah,
experienced veteran coach. He's not a rookie or
yeah.
like his
I
first time.
I kind of like Ty Lue though. I think Ty Lue is a pretty good coach.
I Yeah, I think the jury's still out on him. I think
He makes some adjustments. I like coaches that make adjustments because
yeah. So you don't like Budenholzer?
yeah. I mean, being a Rockets fan, we got what D'Antoni. That guy's man makes no adjustments. And we got other guys like
Like Budenholzer?
Budenholzer or whatever. That guy makes. Yeah, yeah. So it's cool to see coaches make adjustments. Like Vogel, like he switches and he makes like different starting and lineup adjustments and all that.
Yeah,
Stuff.
Dwight started last game.
Yeah, see stuff like that. It shows that they're willing to adjust quickly, which is what you have to do in the playoffs. Because if a coach is going to throw something new at you, you need to be able to counter it.
Especially the
And which
final.
is something that's interesting. He never really played a zone against the Lakers. Last game, it looked like a zone, but it wasn't actually a zone. It was just hard double teams on AD and everything.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna throw that out there because honestly, our 3-point shooting, it's not really something that I would hope we have to rely on because it's not the best. Like KCP can hit some
Yeah.
shots, but if we're relying on him to win the game, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, you
Marquise,
guys were hot game one, right?
yeah,
Game one, you
game
guys were drilling those days. Yeah,
was like I don't think we're ever gonna shoot that well again though.
yeah
Was
I don't think so either.
everything was falling. Like yeah, game 3, like Marquise had 5 threes, 19 points. So I don't know if we can rely on that every single game.
Danny Green's got to come out eventually, right?
I mean, dude, I know you're a big Danny Green fan, but man, that guy.
Dude, he's good. He's good though. All right, hear me out. Come on, Danny Green or like who are the other options? You got like Kyle Kuzma. He doesn't even play the same position. It's like Danny Green or like J.R. Smith or Deion Waiters.
Yeah, I mean that just speaks to like our lack of depth at the position, though, more so than Danny Green.
Yeah, but I mean, who do you take, right? Because there's a lot of Laker fans out there. They love J.R. and Deion. They want to see them out there. J.R. did get some like 3 minutes earlier too in Game 3.
Really? Okay. Most Laker
I'm
fans
just
I know don't want to see any JR Deion action.
okay. Maybe we're talking to different Laker fans. But that's good because Danny Green is the truth. I think he's amazing defensively. Offensively, he's like kind of fell off a little bit. He's really icy hot, but as you said, like on defense, he's a really crucial part of what they do. Like he's amazing off the ball in transition.
No, like there's no doubt that he's a good basketball player. Like we saw him pop off in the finals last year, in the finals before that when he was in the Spurs. But it's just I feel like he can do everything except just make his shot. Like that
Yeah.
corner
But once that shot does go in, it's gonna be sweet.
yeah.
I,
So
I think he's fine. He didn't shoot well last game, but I mean, it's just I don't know. There's just so many other things that the Lakers need to fix, and it's not like just shoot better because obviously that's you want to fix that every game, right? I
yeah,
think a lot of it is getting AD the ball and in a good position, and if Miami is gonna front AD and double team him in the post like that to try to deny him the post, uh, you gotta like throw in Dwight or someone else that can catch a lob, and you need to throw the lob to hit him in the back door, which is something Caruso has done an amazing job at. That guy's good. His timing and his cutting is amazing.
yeah. So let's talk about Caruso. Like I'm sure you
Yeah,
saw like all the memes and like all the hype from the season from Laker fans, but like
yeah,
he's like
yeah,
legitimately
yeah,
a solid basketball player.
yeah. Yeah, that's like since the beginning of the season and midway of the season, like there are defensive metrics. I'm a big stat nerd guy, but I also like watching the games. Like the stats say he's a really good defender, and then the metrics also say, I mean, the eye test also says like, yeah, this guy's pretty good. So like the memes are there, but I think they only work because he's actually a good player. It's not like he's like DJ Banga or something, right? Or like was it Chris Mim or
Romy Turiaf or
you had back then? Like he's actually a good player. Yeah. It's just funny because he has like head and stuff, but like I think he's a good player. I tweeted this before too. I said that he's better than Tyler Hero, and I mean in these finals he has been in these 3 games. He's been better than Tyler Hero, and I'll die on that hill.
Tell Hero it was like 6 for 18 last game. So.
Yeah, he did a little snarl thing just because he had a shot missing the last 10.
All right,
Yep.
so game 4. Have you heard anything about Bam? Like, he's just questionable to play.
Yeah. Yeah. So earlier, I mean, I just saw that he was questionable. And there was a weird interview thing with Jimmy Butler when he said something. Yeah, we're gonna get some guys back soon, which was kind of like a hint. It seems like he knew, Bam was gonna come back. Goran's not coming back, but I think Bam's. I would bet on him coming back, and I think it really changes things. I mean, he didn't do that well in game 1, but no one did. The Lakers were just shooting lights out, and Spoelstra's been making some moves, man. I think you gotta be a little. I'm not gonna be one of those like guys sensationalists and say, "Oh, Lakers are in trouble," but I'm gonna say it's not gonna be as easy as it was the first 2 games for sure.
No, I'm not expecting that. Like I said,
Yeah.
Miami's a good team with a great coach. They're gonna play hard till the clock's zero. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would feel a little more nervous if the Lakers played better in game 3. You know what I mean? Like if we played well,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
then like
Mhm.
there's definitely some concern. But you know, let's see how game 4 plays out because I know we've taken every series so far. We've taken like one game off. It happened
One game
against
off.
Portland,
Yeah.
Houston,
Yeah.
and Denver.
Yeah.
There was one game where we just
Mhm.
didn't show up. So
Yeah. 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 I do think though that I would give a little more credit to Spoelstra kind of like putting some wrinkles in and making things harder for the Lakers. Like they're doing a lot more slip screening now because the Lakers love to switch on those screens. And they're utilizing Duncan Robinson in a way that makes him effective even when he's not hitting shots. Because he didn't hit many shots, but he's still creating lanes for players. And if they get Bam back, it just gives Spo a little more to work with. Now, I think the Lakers make adjustments because, like I said before, Vogel is pretty good. I mean, you have to figure out a way to stop Jimmy from getting in the paint, which is something they didn't really do well last game. And you got to figure out how to get AD the ball, which I think they will do a better job of. But I also think Spoelstra always finds a way to kind of like counter the counter. So there's going to be a lot of cool stuff happening. Can't hear you.
what do you think about LeBron and Jimmy?
LeBron and Jimmy, or a little thing they had at the end when they're trash talking each other?
Just kind of
I mean,
like
overall,
overall, yeah.
I mean, LeBron hasn't hit that gear Jimmy hit in Game 3 yet. I haven't seen it all playoffs. He hasn't needed to, but I haven't seen it. Right? I mean, do you agree? I watched LeBron since the beginning of his career. I mean, he's had these crazy games like that 50-pointer against the Warriors, the 48 against the Pistons, the Game 6 Miami Boston.
Right.
I just haven't seen him hit that gear like Jimmy did, and I'm pretty sure he's not gonna play that well again, but he's gonna freaking go off and find a level. I think Bam will too when he plays. So are you relying more on Anthony Davis or LeBron? Now here comes the whole like who gets the Finals MVP.
So that's a good question.
So what do you think? Like who are you relying more on, LeBron or AD, and who do you think has been the Finals MVP?
Yeah, I mean, if you asked me before yesterday, I would say for sure AD, but AD just didn't show up as much as we needed to last game. You know,
Yeah.
he like the one knock at him, as great of a player as he is that he is too passive sometimes, and sometimes he kind of just like psychs himself out of games, and that's why him and LeBron are such a good combo because LeBron can make up for all those deficiencies. Yeah, but that being said, if we're talking about Finals MVP, then it's going to be decided in the next two games or whatever. I honestly thought like when AD was out, I'm like, all right, this is it. Like if LeBron wants Finals MVP, he's got to just close.
I thought that was gonna happen too. I thought that was the game. I was like, oh, here we go. We're gearing up for it. LeBron's gonna get it.
Yeah. So, who are we gonna rely on though? I feel like I've been dancing around the question. I feel like honestly, to close it out, like we saw in the Denver series, we're probably just gonna need LeBron to just take over. I mean, AD can obviously. We saw that in Game 2, where he was shooting like 90%. But if
that guy's going crazy from mid range, AD's KD from mid range this playoff run. It's insane. There's like a stat on it. I think he was like mid 30s or mid 40s, like percentage wise in mid range in the season, and in the playoffs he's hitting like 65 or 70% of his mid range shots. Like that's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, when he's doing that, you just can't guard him.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, sometimes he gets too passive, and LeBron, he's been there. He has experience. This is the furthest he's ever been. Never been to the finals before. So, but you can see the same thing about Jimmy Butler too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. It's also kind of hard when you're a big man and you rely on someone else getting you the ball. So it's kind of tough because they're taking away AD by design. Spoelstra, I think he feels that AD is more of a threat on offense right now to like score on them and whatnot. So he's kind of taking away AD and forcing it to be like LeBron and others versus us. And they're packing the paint. He's like really trying to take away the easy buckets you guys always get. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what the counter is. Like if they start doubling AD like that, are you gonna put LeBron in a more aggressive scoring role, or are you gonna try to like dish it out to your shooters? I don't know. What do you think the counter is? Because they're packing the paint and they're kind of doubling AD. What would you do if you're Vogel?
I think because it's LeBron, we could do a little bit of both. Like LeBron he's such a good passer as it is.
Yeah.
If our guys are hitting the threes, then LeBron can dish it out, take it to the rim, kick it out and stuff like that. Or he could just take over scoring if their shots not falling. I think he can honestly do both at this point in his career.
But now the question is, do you think, because we haven't seen it, like I said before, Jimmy Butler hit that gear, like, because he's younger and he's hungry, so he hit that, like, superstar Hall of Fame gear in the playoffs where he just, like, dominated the game. Do you think LeBron can still hit that gear? He's old, man, and I don't blame you if you say no. It's like, you don't feel pressured into saying yes just because he's LeBron, all right? You don't gotta say Hall of Fame gear.
No, I mean, I think he can for sure. Like we saw that in Game 5 against Denver. Like he just took over when he felt like it.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not.
That was the gear, but that was like towards the end of the game. Jimmy Butler dominated the whole way through.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. That was a little bit of it.
Jimmy kind of had to,
Well, LeBron might have to as well. If things get a little more interesting, he might have to do it.
Like, and I
want to see it.
I trusted him. And honestly, if you're LeBron, like, I'm sure he feels so close to the title. Like,
Yeah,
If
yeah.
somehow the Lakers lose the series, he's gonna have a horrible offseason. He's gonna have so many questions to answer,
Yeah, man.
And
You're gonna have oh man, you're gonna hear it from everyone.
that's
I still don't think that's gonna happen. But I mean, if I were a betting man, there's some value on the Heat, I think, especially if Bam comes back, but not too much. I wouldn't bet too much on it. I did bet the Lakers would win in 5 or 6 when it was 2-0 because I was just hoping for like a miracle Heat game because it looked like a sweep. There's some pretty good value there.
okay. Um, just for personal preference, I hope it's 5 because Game 5's on a Friday.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it goes to 7 or, I get to see a little more LeBron. Like I said, man, I want to see him hit that gear. I want to see like, or AD, just some super shot will play. Because the first 2 games, man, Lakers dominance, but it wasn't like anything. I don't know. It wasn't anything too exciting from a guy that doesn't have a horse in this race. It was just me watching LeBron just stomp on some guys without 2 of their most important dudes. But
I feel it. I feel like the last 2 games have been pretty fun to watch though.
yeah, the first game wasn't fun. It was like pretty depressing. The second game was a little more fun. Third game was really good. I thought the Lakers would win the third game, to be honest, especially with how bad they were playing and how they were still in it.
Right.
You're on that side of you think they played really poorly. They'll regress back to their average performance or stellar performance. I watched some of the highlights and stuff again, and a lot of things were by design. So I'm a little optimistic about the Heat now. I was throwing them dead in the water, but I underestimated them. I'm gonna say I think they push it to at least 6, and it's gonna be close. It's gonna be battles. What do you think? You disagree with that?
No, I mean I wouldn't be surprised at all with 6 because
Yeah,
I like if they can definitely squeeze one more game out at least.
yeah,
Um,
I think so.
because yeah, like you said, especially if for like our shooters, there's just one game where you just can't hit any shots. Like
Yeah,
it's possible, but we'll see. Looking forward to it.
that's the thing. Yeah, because a lot of the teams they do have like these weaknesses you can exploit and kind of figure out and take advantage of. There's no like super team that's like flawless now. There's no KD Warriors.
Yeah, exactly. That's why.
I mean, if you take that's what I'm saying. Like if it goes to 6 games, obviously this Heat team is pretty good, especially without Bam and Goran. I mean, there's no asterisk on this. Like all these teams are tough, man. Like you don't win a championship without having to earn it. But I will say, I think I saw some funny stat. It was like since the 90s or something, this is the first time the finals champion, if the Lakers win, this is the first time since like the 90s that they wouldn't have to play a top 10 defense in terms of defensive rating. So I'll always hold that one over you if they do.
I mean, if that's the best you got, then it's fine.
Yeah, I got a couple more, but they've earned it, man. I mean,
What about offensive rating?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, the Rockets are pretty good offense, I guess. And the Nuggets.
Blazers too.
Dude, I think the Blazers were super overhyped. They had so many issues. I think honestly, they didn't play Carmelo Anthony and they just played like Gary Trent Jr. or something the entire time. They'd have a better chance. But that team was overhyped. I don't think it's that impressive. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean they had one of the worst.
Do you think?
So.
Yeah, they were terrible on defense. But I do think beating the Rockets and the Nuggets in the fashion they did, and then stomping Miami out in those first 2 games, like, dude, this team is legit. You can't keep making excuses on why they're so good now, right?
Yeah, and
in the first round, a little bit too much hype. Huh?
You play who's in front of you,
Yeah. The first round, I was like, all right, Lakers fans are hyping themselves up because they beat the Blazers. Whoever was hyping up the Blazers, they don't know what they're talking about. But once they beat my Rockets, I was like, man, I don't know if we just suck or if they're good. And I saw what they did to the Nuggets, and I'm like, all right, I mean, it's a little bit of both, but the Lakers are really good. They're just playing really well. And again, I don't think the same thing I did after game 2. Like, I think it's going to be close.
I expect a close game tomorrow. I really do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the line is, but I don't think it should be more than like 6.
Dude, let's check what the line is.
While you do that, like, what do you think about just like the bubble itself? And like, don't you feel like it's been such a tough playoffs for like all parties involved? People were saying it's like an asterisk, with no fan stuff, but I feel like it really is like a battle of like the last man standing.
I I do think there's so many challenges, right? Because you're in a freaking bubble, first of all. I mean, that presents a lot of challenges. And then the second thing is, it's just, I mean, you play every other day. Like there's no travel, but you play every other day, which makes things pretty rough too. Especially with how many minutes people are logging in the playoffs. Like every other day, it's a lot of like strain on your body. So you can see how tired these guys are after every game, even though they don't have to travel, which is insane. But I do think the bubble also helps teams that shoot a lot of threes or like shooters in general because you have the same court and you have the same environment. So I think that's really helped AD a lot. I think it's helped like Duncan Robinson, the whole Heat team. It's helped the whole Heat team. Like Jay Crowder was ass before joining the Heat, right? So they got a lot of help too with that. But I mean, we really don't know, right? Because every playoffs is different. Like, who knows if this could have happened again? Like, maybe Jay Crowder's just good at shooting now. So I don't know. I'm gonna attribute it partly to bubble and
Jamal Murray too.
Makes sense. Yeah, like all these guys are super hot. They call them bubble games, but I do think it's overblown when people say no one plays defense anymore. I think the offense is just so good. Like these guys are just so good at.
The offense is really good, but you have to also adjust for pace too. I think compared to other eras, like just way more possessions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You look
and
at
we're in the 3-point era, so like leads don't matter. Right?
Yeah.
If you're down like 15, it's not shoot a couple threes, you're back.
Yeah, especially you're playing against a team like the Warriors. You know.
Yeah.
You've seen so many situations like that.
Yeah, they'll be back. Our Warriors.
Yeah, isn't that what
Steph
you wanted
Curry,
to talk about too? or should we take that for
what the Warriors? I mean, I'm a huge Steph Curry fan. I think he's the most exciting player to watch right now.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of holes in their roster still. They still have a lot of things to work out. But with Stephen Clay, I think he'll be in contention, of course. I mean, with all the teams now, you see the teams who are contending, they have clear weaknesses. Like there's no like big bad Thanos type team.
Yeah.
So
I think that's
the door's wide open
for the best stuff.
I think it's fun. Yeah, I think it's fun. That's why a team like the Heat making it here, like they're not a bad team. They're just a really good team that executes well and game plans well. And it makes it fun that teams like that can work hard enough and execute their way to the finals. You know.
Yeah. So
out the Bucks.
that was probably the most that or the Clippers collapse was, obviously one of the biggest upsets or biggest stories from the bubble. I mean, the Bucks have some serious issues though.
Dude, I think they're done. Giannis is gone. He's gonna be on the Warriors.
I don't even want to think about that. But yes, going back to the Warriors, I really like their move to get Andrew Wiggins. I think that helps them so much on defense. And Wiggins being like the third option on the team, like he's never been the third option on the team. He's always been one or two. So I think that was a really good move.
I actually hated it. I hate Andrew Wiggins. Yeah. I think he's he's a terrible he's one of the worst defenders in my opinion, but I think he's a little better, I guess, because he's on the Warriors.
He's giving some
but I think he's got to go. I don't know. Statistically, he's really bad on defense. When I watch him, he's a little bit better. He's trying a little hard on the Warriors. And it helps that you can play next to Stephen Clay. So you're right. I think if they utilize him like as a cutter or even this is kind of weird, but I think him as like a point guard would be okay. Like bringing up the ball because Curry loves the off-ball action and Clay does too. So I don't know what Draymond's going to he needs to prove himself that he can play again. He needs to prove to us that he can play again because everyone thinks he's washed.
He's going to park in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think the best way to utilize Wiggins would be actually like a point guard, like big point guard, 6'8" point guard, and then just pass the ball to Curry on off-ball screens and play pins and whatnot.
Yeah, so what would their starting lineup be? You got Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and then
Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and throwing James Wiseman for number 2 pick or whatever. Whoever they have.
I mean, shoot, if I was them, I'd probably think about trading that pick. You get like a great
you got to trade that pick.
Proven piece. Yeah.
You need to trade that pick for just anyone that's like startable or like that can play in the playoffs right next year.
Like I don't think the Hawks would do this, but what if they offered the number 2 for Capella?
Yeah, I don't think the Hawks do it, but I think if you're the Warriors, you take it. Honestly, anyone that can play, right? Like that's serviceable. I mean, I think Warriors fans are way overblowing what they can get for that number 2 plus Draymond or Clay. People think they can get Giannis. I said that as a joke. I don't think they can get Giannis. I think maybe like a Victor Oladipo type, but that's stretching it too. That's the most they can get. I think that this draft is not good from what I've read.
It doesn't help that the basketball season is kind of fucked too.
Yeah, it's super fucked. And Draymond, his value is shit right now. So Clay, you're out of here. So.
Yeah, just some giddy Warriors fans probably.
Yeah, I mean, there's Warriors fans and there's Lakers fans, but I'm just really excited for your 2 annoying and arrogant fan bases to clash next year.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I know
be the real rivalry.
I know LeBron's looking forward to that too.
Yeah, not the Clippers. Lakers Clippers is dead. That's dead to me. That's nothing. The Clippers worst collapse in sports history, in my opinion. I don't want to talk about that. They're just terrible. But the Warriors and Lakers, that's must see TV.
I mean, yeah,
I need that playoff series.
Great basketball.
It's gonna be fun. Yeah.
We'll have to see. All right, man. I appreciate you coming on. We'll have to talk again at the end of the series or to see how far this thing goes.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
I remember, as always, you can follow us on all our socials, DJ Sports Podcast, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Reach us for questions, djsportspod@gmail.com. Nathan, thanks again, man, and looking forward to next time I see you. Hopefully it'll be at the end of the series. Otherwise, we'll maybe talk about game 6 or game 7.
Yep, let's do it. 2-2, baby. Let's go, Heat.
All right. Take care.